I'm going to demonstrate two movements I usually do to relieve stress after intensive study. One is the flexion at my elbow joint and the other is the hyperextension of my head. Flexion is a type of angular movement, which is defined as a decrease in the angle between articular bones. Although the biceps brachial muscle is involved with flexion of the elbow, contrary to popular belief, it is not always the most active elbow flexor. Several other arm muscles are involved in elbow flexion and can be more active than the biceps, depending on the position of your arm. Brachioradialis and brachialis are also involved. The pronator teres, flexor carpi radialis, and extensor carpi radialis longus are also involved in elbow flexion, but not to the extent of the biceps, brachialis, and brachioradialis. These three small forearm muscles are mainly responsible for movement of the wrist and forearm, but they do assist during elbow flexion. The other movement I usually do is the hyperextension of my head. Continuation of extension beyond the anatomical position is called hyperextension. What I'm doing right now is bending the head backward at the iliaco-occipital and cervical intervertebral joints. There are 8 muscles involved in head hyperextension. These muscles are splenius capitis, cervicis muscles, semispinalis cervicis, spinalis capitis, semispinalis capitis, upper trapezius, longissimus cervicis, and levator scapula.
One move that I do to help me burn all the turkeys that I ate from Thanksgiving and strengthen the glute muscles at the same time is the abduction of leg. It is basically the action of raising legs sideways. Abduction is a type of angular movement by synovial joint. It is a movement of bone away from midline in the frontal plane. The 6 abductor muscles of the leg that are involved in the action of abduction are called the hip abductors. The primary abductors of the hip are the gluteus maximus and the gluteus medius. Also involved in hip abduction are the gluteus minimus and several other muscles in the region of upper leg, hips, or buttocks. Those include the tensor fasciae latae, the sartorius, and the piriformis. The key for this movement is to make sure that the foot of your working leg is parallel to the supporting leg. This prevents a rotation of your hip joint, thus making your gluteus and the core doing the maximum work. Another move that I do to give myself a stretch is the plantar flexion. Plantar flexion is a type of special movement of synovial joint that bends a foot in the direction of the sole. Plantar flexion has a normal range of motion from about 20 to 50 degrees from the resting position, while a ballerina on point may flex beyond 50-degree angle, as they have an extreme range of motion in their plantar flexion. Sadly, I'm not a ballerina, so what I'm demonstrating here is just a normal plantar flexion. The muscle involved in the plantar flexion includes gastrocnemius, soleus, plantaris, flexor hallucis longus, flexor digitorum longus, tibialis posterior, peroneus longus, and peroneus brevis.